In today's video, we're going to have a look at what Christine Lagarde said recently. We're also going to be looking at Trump's legal cases, a little bit about IPOs and zombie companies in the US. Hello and welcome to another acysecurities Hot Topic video. My name is Alistair Schultz and I'm going to be your host through today's trading journey. The first thing I'm looking at today is I've just been tallying up the amount of legal cases that President Trump currently has going on. Right now he's got 7 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Michigan, 1 in Nevada, 1 in Arizona, and 1 in Georgia, all about the US election in trying to get votes either discredited, thrown out, or counted in a different manner. So he does have quite a few things going on when it comes to this legal side of things. He knows he has lost, but he has still not conceded defeat, and he's trying to find all the available ways that he can get in. Now, the most recent one is that Rudy, his lawyer, Trump's lawyer, has been in Congress recently and has also been in court, basically saying that there has been some level of fraud, but has been so far unable to provide any evidence of such matters occurring. Now, moving on from Trump's legal cases, what are the chances of him having problems after the election? They are getting higher and higher. I'm not talking about legal cases that are going to be coming across as voting problems, but I'm talking about legal cases that he might be up for getting in trouble with. There's a multitude of them. And the only way that he can actually get past that is if he's somehow able to get pardoned for his post-presidential work. Now, the only way that's going to happen is if he leaves the White House, puts Mike Pence in charge, and Mike Pence pardons him. But that remains to be seen, particularly when we're not all that far out. I think there's only a little bit over 8 weeks before the 20th of January in terms of the inauguration for Joe Biden. Now, moving on, zombie companies are swelling in the US. We've been keeping an eye on them throughout the year, but now they've reached $1.4 trillion worth of debt. And companies that are joining the party or the club include Boeing, Carnival Corp, Delta Airlines, ExxonMobil, and even Macy's. These are all household names. And more than 200 corporations this year have joined the zombie club. But of course, if you think about what the debt levels are now at $1.4 trillion, and we consider what we saw during the GFC, zombie company debt was really at the max $500 billion. And that was at the peak of the GFC. Now, in 2019, it was $378 billion. So we'd already reduced it a little bit by 2019 since the GFC. And now we've obviously swollen that well and truly up into the $1 trillion mark. Now, the interest coverage ratios is an interesting point to look at. If we see an interest coverage ratio below 1 on a company, then they are ballooning. And we're seeing those numbers increase, particularly in the Russell 3000, where there are over 300 companies, potentially going upwards towards 500 companies that have got this ratio. Now, this interest coverage ratio effectively means that a company is unable to pay the interest charges for the debt that they have taken on. That's in its simplest sort of statistic anyway. And it's going to be really important to distinguish some of these companies, because whilst these companies are obviously doing poorly, some of them may be able to survive. And it's really important to distinguish between the walking wounded and the walking dead. So looking at those companies in a little bit more detail, I'm going to be a part of my objectives over the next couple of weeks to see if there are any outliers in there that might not be able to cover the interest right now, but have the foundations for a better tomorrow. Now, looking at what we've heard about the pandemic, and obviously now what looks like is merging into a financial crisis, Christine Lagarde has been highly concerned. She's been looking at the new lockdowns that we've seen in Europe, and she's not got a really good picture frame of mind for them. And she's got this quote here that I'm just going to read out to you now. It says, "The risk I see is that a potential financial spillover, which we managed to avoid so far, is likely to occur." So she's got more stimulus expecting to come in December at this stage from the ECB, because Christine Lagarde is worried about the idea of this pandemic becoming a financial crisis. And obviously what she's used the word spillover means that we're going to see a little bit of a problem when it comes to the economy and being able to actually get that recovery effort starting to happen. So she is looking to support the economy through stimulus. Now, we have already had speculation that we might see stimulus in December from the ECB. This is just raising those prospects that we will likely see it, but we're going to have to wait and see until the next ECB meeting concludes. Now, one for some of you guys out there, obviously Robinhood is a well-known name around the globe these days, particularly with all the investing we've seen in the US this year. Robinhood are a stocks company. They are a broker that operate out of the US. They deal with US clientele only. But they have had a pretty big run this year. There's been a lot of retail investors opening accounts, a lot of people trading, and they've also had a lot of grievances, about 400 complaints compared to what you might, 400 complaints so far this year compared to what you would usually get, which is 1/4 the size at Morgan Stanley or some of the other brokers in the US. And the reasoning for that, a lot of these instances, are we're getting unsophisticated investors. Now, of course, a lot of this transcribes from, this is the most trading volume that's been seen year over year in a very long time, and there are more people trading than ever before. Of course, Robinhood has been able to make some money out of this. The small startup is now looking to IPO. So I'm not sure we can call them a startup anymore, but they are starting to seek advice for an IPO at some stage in 2021. So this might be a financial entity that we do want to keep track of, see how they transcribe over the next couple of weeks. You never know. If a vaccine comes in, then people may not be trading as often, but chances are Robinhood will be here to stick around for a little bit if they do it quite well. Now, for the news ahead of today, we are going to be hearing from Governor Lowe from the RBA. We're also going to be hearing, or at least seeing, some of the figures for UK CPI, PPI, RPI, and HPI. All of them are coming out today, so keep an eye on that, particularly if you're trading the pound. The pound has been ticking up a little bit on the good news that we've been hearing about Brexit, which suggests that we might very well see an agreement be signed before the end of next week. So that is looking hopeful at this stage, and obviously we're getting a little bit of reaction out of it in prices. Now, in addition to the UK CPI, PPI, RPI, and HPI, we're also seeing Canadian CPI come out later in the session. We're also got German 10-year bonds and their actual yield prices going through, so keep an eye on those if you are interested in those European markets. Of course, much later in the session, we're going to be hearing from Federal Open Market Committee member Williams, and he'll be talking about the economy and the Fed. Now, if there's anything from today's video you'd like to get in contact with me about, please feel free to either shoot me an email at talktoal@acy.com or send me a message on any of my socials. I'll quite happily respond to them when I get the first available opportunity. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video so you can get more great content from me and ACY Securities in the future. Have a great trading day ahead.